Yo, you ever felt like you wrote the hottest verse or the hottest song, and in your mind, you know that that song is supposed to be a hit in your mind, right? And then you release it, and then you just get like 5 views after the first drop, and then you come back after a week, it's still at 5 views. You share it, your friends don't even comment, the likes don't even go up. You probably got like 2 likes on it. You didn't spend your passion, because your passion is currency. You didn't spend money getting the song mixed and mastered, your time, your energy into producing something that to you has value. But to the potential consumer, the interest has not been developed within them just yet. I want you to keep that in mind. The interest has not been developed within them just yet for your product. Once you start to see it from that dimension, you learn to separate disappointment from data. But how do you cope with that, upcoming artist? I'm curious. Let's talk about it in the comment section. How did it feel after your first releases, when you dropped your first 5 songs, 10 songs, maybe your first 3 albums even? Because some artists stay underground for a cool minute. Not to say they're not working hard. They dealing with life's challenges. They dealing with some real stuff behind the scenes that they're probably not even sharing. Because not every artist is going to get on social media and talk about their personal circumstances. But yet somehow they stay consistent, especially if they're following the traditional format where they release singles, release an EP, release the mixtape, then they drop the album. They staying consistent with the traditional format, but they not getting the love that they know they deserve. And then they looking at other people. They probably just releasing little bits and pieces of they songs on social media, and it's hitting over 1,000 views, 5,000 views, 10,000 views, and they wondering like, but their stuff is not even that hot, right? You got the substance, you got the beats, your vocals clean, sound quality top. You pay for the very, very best. But then when you release it, it's stagnant, it's stale. You wondering like, am I doing something wrong? That feeling, how did you overcome that feeling? I'm curious. Can we talk about that today? Can we talk about what happens when you release your song or songs and you don't get no love in the beginning? You're not getting no support in the beginning. How do you cope with that? Because this is very, very important. I'm sure for some of y'all, you probably already went through that phase already. You probably been past that already. You passed the rejection phase. You in a totally different phase right now. You're probably out there networking, collaborating, getting on stages. You're probably not really so much worried about that division anymore because you already know it's not personal. But there are some artists that get to sit with that. They sit with that, and it really gets to them. It gets to them. They probably don't write for months because they feeling like, yo, I feel like I'm talented. I feel like I'm dope. But why am I not getting no love? You ever felt like that? Or are you in that phase right now where you feeling like that? Please, if you feeling like that, don't give up, and don't think that it's because you're not talented, because you know you're talented. You have to keep in mind the industry now is different. The industry now is different. The days when we used to hit the streets and we could hustle up quick and get real feedback, where somebody would buy your CD and then the next few hours they'll leave a comment saying, yo, I just You the one, I got your CD and I'm telling you your stuff is fire, good looking, keep doing what you're doing. Those days are gone. Where now you competing in this wide market where you pitch out and it just seems to be lost out there. It just seems to be stuck out there. So, like I said, firstly, you got to remember to separate that feeling of disappointment from data. Now, secondly, you got to get into the habit of actually collecting data, analyzing data. You got to examine your reach, your online reach. You got to be able to look at those insights. Read what the insights really mean. And it's one of those things where you got to actually push yourself to get into the habit of doing. Maybe you got to watch some videos to understand how to really read it so you're making the best out of that information, because that information is very, very useful. But I'm going to tell you, don't underlook the street move as well too. Because even though CDs ain't popping, it doesn't mean that you still can't hit the streets up. You just got to develop a totally different mode. One, your presentation. You got to make sure that physically you look appealing. Two, you got to make sure that you have something that they can take with them. Doesn't have to be a CD, but it could be a card with a QR code that leads directly to your social media and to your streaming sites. And you got to have a message on it, very short, that's catchy, that once they read it, it sticks. It makes them want to scan the QR code and get to it and actually show you love. And then your pitch. You got to work on the pitch. How you approach. People nowadays don't want to give nobody the time of day. So that means you got to hit certain target areas where, you know, if you hear, people are going to be more open to wanting to see, okay, what the youngin got, what you got for me. Especially areas like open mic spots. Those are amazing. You got to definitely still check out, because open mics are still popping. Even just events that are related to music, you can still hit those up. Don't underestimate the street approach. It don't got to be CDs. With that, you can now collect data, because the initial goal would be to collect data. When people message you and let you know that they're actually vibing with your music, do not overlook that. That's information, that's data that you could use. You want to get into the habit of actually paying close attention to what people are saying about what you're doing. All that information that you're collecting, it could be one message. In a month, you might get like 1 or 2 messages. Somebody message you and say, hey, I see what you're doing. Or somebody might just drop 2 thumbs up, or even just 2 hearts. Don't underlook that. Don't think that that's nothing. That's data. That's information that you should use accordingly to make the best out of what's coming in based off of your product, because that's the first phase. Remember, we're talking about how to cope with that feeling, that the first few stages of you dropping and you're not getting no love, right? You're not getting no support after your first few releases. You don't want to be stuck in that mental state of feeling like, yo, the internet is dead, the internet is cooked, nobody's supporting me. The same way that you approaching the street hustle is the same way that you're supposed to be approaching the digital hustle. That means that you got to be interacting, you got to be commenting under other people's work. You got to be showing love if you want to get that same love back. But me personally, I still emphasize how important it is to actually be showing up in person, and not just showing up in person like, yo, I do music, let me spit. Nah, you got to actually have something that people could take with them. Nothing too large. It ain't got to be no 11 by 17. You know what I mean? It could just be a simple type of business card type of shape, or a square little something with a QR code on it and, a message of love on it. And you print out like 100 of those, 250. You pass those out, and then now you get to see the messages that come in. If you pass out 100, you want to analyze and say, okay, create like a little spreadsheet or some type of data sheet where you say, okay, I passed out 100. Let me see what messages is coming in. Let me see what the feedback that people are giving you in regards to those 100. So that way it'll tell you, should I print 100 more? Or should I develop a different tactic or a different strategy? You know what I mean? And while you online as well, it's not like you just gonna be in somebody's inbox. Yo, I just dropped this song. Check it out. You gotta build connection, a relationship, like in real life, right? You gotta treat it the same way in real life. Imagine you just run up on somebody in real life, and you just tell them, "I just dropped something. Can you go check it out?" Like, you see how it sounds, and you see the approach. But you got to be able to approach somebody like a human being online, approach them like a real human. And I'm telling you this out of experience, right? I'm not just saying this. I'm sure you probably thinking like, yo, it's clicking, right? It's starting to make sense. And then you want to set real metrics for yourself, like real time goals. Yeah, you might have 5,000 followers. You get real with yourself. I got 5,000 followers right now, but honestly, none of them is really supporting. Probably like 5, 10 of them probably even check it out. And you probably don't even know they're checking you out because they don't even like, they don't even leave a comment. So they probably just check it out and then they stay quiet. So you're starting to think, how now can I look outside of these 5,000? This is when you come up with a real system. You say, okay, you want to hit 100 dedicated followers that really support you. This is where now you get down into the numbers. And it's much more fun, actually, when you start to, because you don't just see these people as, you're not talking to robots. They're real people. On the other side, there are real people that you're going to be interacting with. The only good thing now is you got a wider reach. You can reach people in different parts of the world through the internet. So you're going to interact with them like you're interacting with a real, like I'm talking to you right now. You're going to interact with them in real time. You got to get into the habit. This last point right here, you got to use your releases, especially the first releases. You got to use those as a means to extract feedback that you're going to use to strengthen what you got going on. But that is why strategy, having clarity, knowing what you're doing and where you're going is important. What you think about this video? What you think about these points? Is it making sense? Are you in that phase right now? Are you beyond it? Have you already learned some of these lessons and you found your way to get through it? If you have and you are comfortable enough to share some of your strategies in the comment section, please do. That way other artists can learn from you as well with ADR Entertainment Academy. Remember, here we don't hold back information. We share what we have. We share what we know so we can all collectively grow.